Hi everyone, Salesforce integration training day 11. Let's see what we are going to learn today. We'll quickly go through the previous session overview and we'll talk about the Salesforce. So far we have discussed about the JSON and XML, HTTP. Now today from the Salesforce point of view, what are the different ways we can implement the integration? And we will talk about a SOAP. How can we implement a SOAP? What is the WSDL file? And how can we invoke the web service method from the generated Apex class? And what are the considerations for the using web service keywords? And what are the common error during the WSDL parsing? So this is what we will see. And then if time permits, we'll talk about the connected app. Otherwise, we'll do it next session. Next one is Trailhead. Now, in last session, we have discussed about how to use a HTTP and what all things we can do it. And the last one, which we were doing about the SMS, sending an SMS to the mobile. Now, whenever we were sending an SMS to the mobile, I was getting an error. Whenever I create a lead here, now click on a clone, lead. Now, I have a number here, which I have mentioned the number. And click on, let's say that, let's keep this different number. Click on a save. Whenever we save the record, the future call is executed. And the error which I was getting is invalid template. So this invalid template is basically, this is set up on the SMS, text local SMS. In the text local SMS, we have a template setup. When we go to the text local, and here, if I go to the API keys, so it has to be text local setting, your profile, settings, your profiles, go to your profile, and here this is the one where we have to enter some information. So there is a template which is available. The template is, now let me search this in the Google, invalid templates. I can see all the templates. Templates and drafts. Okay. So the template, it says, so in text local, there is something called as a templates. So here for this credentials, we have a setup that between 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. from Monday to Saturday. So that means template will be enabled only during this time. If you are trying to send outside of this time, then it will give you the error called invalid template. It will give you the error which is called as an invalid template. So this template is available between the 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. from the Monday to Saturday. Now, if you want to create a new request, new template, you can create a new template. But in our, whatever the credentials which I have created, in my credentials, if I go to the profile, whatever my profile is there, if I go to my profile, in my profile, I need to specify this registration ID. If I specify the registration ID, then I can create a new template to work for a 24 hours. 24 hours. Right now, I have a template only from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. from Monday to Saturday. That is by default template, it is provided by the text local. But if you want to create a new template, you can create it. But in order to create a new one, what we have to do is we have to create a principal entity registration ID. Now, if you have to create this one, now you need to provide your Aadhaar card, PAN number, details, all those things you have to provide it. Right? So that is a little bit tricky. So let's not try on this. So because we have to provide so many options here. And also we have to register our PAN number, right? All those details we have to register. Now instead of that, I can try on Monday. During this time, I can try whatever the template is available. During that time, I can try it and see whether it is working or not. Right? So right now the error is invalid template. Invalid template, that means the template is not available. The time, whatever the time you have selected for that time, template is not available. So whenever the template is available, we can try the sending an SMS. So that was the error which was happening in the previous class. Now today we'll move on to the Salesforce. In the Salesforce, in real time, whenever we have to implement an integration, most of every developer, mostly they will go for a two type of a integration. One is a SOAP, another one is a REST. There are two type of integration. You take any integration, which are the company, right? Either they will go with the SOAP or a REST. So every developer or any integration, whatever we implemented, these are the two types of it, SOAP and REST. Now SOAP is nothing but, let's see the SOAP. Right, SOAP is, this is a simple object access protocol. That means this is used for the access protocol for the simple object. And whatever we are implementing the simple object access protocol, it is completely relies on the XML and schema. Completely relies on the XML and schema. SOAP handles only the XML. And whenever we are implementing a SOAP, it is what are the simple object access protocol or what are the XML which we are going to build it, which we are going to generate it. It is a strongly typed messaging framework. It is a strongly typed messaging framework. So based on the whatever the input we have given, so there is a XML will be generated. So that XML is a strongly typed messaging framework. You cannot easily change anything. And the operations and its XML structures of a request and a response defined. Now, whatever the operations we are performing it, everything is in a XML format, whether it is a request or a response, whatever it might be, everything is in a XML structure. And whenever we are implementing a SOAP, simple object access protocol, through the SOAP, the way we are going to communicate it by using the SOAP, if you are implementing a SOAP integration, then you need to have a WSDL file. If you have a WSDL, WSDL is nothing but a web service description language. Through this WSDL, we are going to communicate through the SOAP. If you do not have a WSDL, it is not possible. That means whatever you are implementing a integration, if you are going with the SOAP integration, then you have to use the WSDL. You have to use the WSDL. Then only you can communicate using the WSDL file. And by underlying this, transport protocol can be sent over the almost any protocol, such as the HTTP, TCP, whatever it is there, you can implement any protocol. Now, what we are going to do right now is, I have a client Salesforce. And I'm going to invoke a SOAP in the API. For example, right now I have a server. Now let's assume that from the server, what I'm going to do right now is, This is a server Salesforce. Both the sides it is a Salesforce. Both the side it is Salesforce. I have a one Salesforce which is a server, One Salesforce is which is a client, Now in the server, what we can do is we can generate a SOAP. Or else if you want to do it from the client side, you can generate a. Here also Salesforce can be generated. Now let me go to the page. Now I have two systems and both the side I'm taking Salesforce. So this is the Salesforce and this is also Salesforce. And this is, let's say that this is a server Salesforce. It is a server Salesforce. This is a server Salesforce. This is server side Salesforce. Similarly, I have another Salesforce or which is a client. Now from server, I am going to create a SOAP file here. I am implementing an integration using the SOAP integration. Using the SOAP integration, what I'll do is I'll send a request to the client. Now we are sending the request to the SOAP integration. This is a request. I'm sending the request through the SOAP. So that means I'm passing the data using the SOAP integration. Now client side, they are going to invoke. Client is going to invoke the SOAP API. They are going to invoke the SOAP API to create. Assume that I'm going to create an account. In server. Now they invoke the SOAP API and there are some logic needs to be executed. Once it is invoked, then they are going to send the response back to the server. So when they are sending the response back to the server, in the server, account is created. We are creating the account. That means I'm sending a SOAP integration request to the client. Client will invoke the SOAP integration and there are some logic gets executed. Based on the logic execution, the response is going to send the response to the server. So once it sends the response to the server, the account is created in the server. That means through the client Salesforce, I am creating an account in server. So this is how we use the SOAP integration. In between, I have a SOAP integration. Right now, let's see the step by step. How can we do it? So step 2 follow for the SOAP integration. Now there are 4 steps which we need to follow in order to create a SOAP integration. Now, step 1 is I need to create a web service. Just a second. Okay, so there are 4 steps which we need to perform it. Step 1 is create a web service method. That means we need to create a method called web service. In the web service method, we need to create it. And step 2 is generate and share the WSDL file with the client. Now this method I'll be creating in the server. This method I'll be creating in the server. Step 2 is we will generate and share the WSDL file with the client. We will generate and share the WSDL file with the client. Now what client is going to do? Step 3 is client going to invoke the SOAP. Right? So step 3 is client is going to generate the Apex class from the WSDL file. What are the WSDL file? I'm giving it to the client. They are going to generate the Apex class from the WSDL, and the step 4 is they are going to invoke the SOAP call to the server. Now, what is the steps which we are happening here? Now, let me go back to the paint. Now, here the step 1 is going to happen in the server side. Step 1 is going to happen in the server side. What is the step 1? Developer has to create web service method. This is the step 1. They have to create a web service method in the server side. And step 2 is developer has to generate the WSDL file, and this file they need to share the WSDL file with the client. They need to share this WSDL file with the client. Share the WSDL file with client. They need to share WSDL file with client. Right? So this is step 1. Step 2 is done in the server side. Client side, what needs to be happen? Client side, step 3. Client side, step 3. What they are going to do client side? Client is going to generate the Apex class. They are going to generate the Apex class from WSDL file. What are the WSDL file they are receiving it? From that they are going to generate a Apex class. Now we will see how to generate it. Now step 4. Step 4 we have a invoke SOAP call. We are going to invoke a SOAP call to the server. Now they are going to invoke a SOAP call. The SOAP call is they are going to invoke a SOAP call to the server. Invoke SOAP call to server. Right? So this is the entirely. These are the 4 steps are mandatory. So 4 steps, whatever the integration you do it with the SOAP, right? It could be you're doing with the Salesforce to Salesforce, you're doing the Salesforce to Google, you're doing the Salesforce to any other third party. If you are using the SOAP integration, these 4 steps are mandatory. Now I have a org. Now I have a 2 orgs right now. Now one is which says Samskar IT. Samskar IT2 is my server. Samskar IT2 is server. And I have another org, another Salesforce org, where it is a Samskar IT 1327. 1327. 1327. This is the client. Client is 1327. Server is 2. Now I have a 2 Salesforce org. Now what I'm going to do? I'm going to perform these steps. What are the 4 steps which are mentioned? I'm going to perform these 4 steps. Now, let's divide these steps right now. Let's divide steps. We will go step by step. First thing is that in order to expose the SOAP service, what developer has to do? What developer has to do? In the step 1, we say that creating the method, right? Where we are creating first thing is that in the step 1, step 1, it says create a web service method. But if I go in depth, the steps to expose is I need to create a Apex class, then I need to add a web service method, then complete whatever the service logic is there. I need to complete the service logic. Then I need to expose the WSDL file. WSDL file is web service description language. These are the steps which I need to perform it. Now, let's see the step 1. These all are I'm going to perform right now. The first thing is that I need to create a Apex class. Now, the scenario for this is, let's assume that this is my server, okay? In the server, I'm going to, whenever the lead is created, I'm going to send what are the lead is created, right? So what are the lead is created, that SOAP integration I'll be sending to the client. That means we will be receiving a leads from the different places, right? So I'll be receiving the leads from the Facebook, leads from the Instagram, leads from some other website. Similarly, I'm going to receive a leads from the client. I'm going to receive a leads from the client. So this client is going to send me the leads. So that means I need to create a Apex class in this server. In the server, I need to create a Apex class. Now let me go ahead and create a Apex class. File new Apex class. Now Apex class name is lead manager. Apex class is lead manager. Now this is the class name. Now I need to create a Apex class. This is the Apex class. Inside that I need to add a web service method. I need to add a web service method. So, okay. So web service method is, here we have a web service and I need to specify the static whenever we are using the, usually how we write it, if it is a generic method. If it is a generic method, now let me write the generic method here. Public static string, I'm creating the new lead, create new lead, right? Now this is normally how we write it, and within this let me add the try catch. This is the try, and then I have a catch exception ex. Now I'm writing this logic in the server. Now let's assume that this method is expecting the 4 parameters. One is a first name, string, lead, first name, string lead, first name, and then I have a and let me get the last name also, lead, last name, string, lead, company name, and then string. What else we have? Email, lead email, and last one is let's take a phone number. So these are the parameters which is going to expected. Lead phone. Right, so here in the try, I'll create a lead record, LD equal to new lead. LD dot first name equal to whatever the lead first name is there. I'll get that lead first name. LD dot last name equal to lead last name. LD dot lead company name equal to, lead LD dot company equal to lead company names, then LD dot email equal to lead email, LD dot phone equal to lead phone. Now I'm going to insert lead record here, and then I return the ID. I'll return lead ID. I'm going to return lead ID. In case if there is any exception, I'll say that return error during processing the record. During processing the record. Perfect. This is the generic, normal Apex class. Normal Apex class. Right? If I save it, there won't be any error. It will simply save the class. This is generic. But right now, what we are doing here, we wanted to expose the certain web service method to the another system. From the server, I wanted to expose the SOAP integration. That means I need to expose what is the data is expected here. Now for that, what I'll use is, instead of a public, for the method name, instead of a public, I'll use a web service. I use a web service. Whenever we are using a web service, the class access modifier name has to be global. The class access modifier has to be a global, because we are going to expose this class to the third party system, to the another system. So in that case, we need to specify the global. We need to specify the global. Now this is done. Let me save this. Now here, created the Apex class and added the web service method. Now I need to complete the server logic. Now I have completed the logic. Now next step is I need to expose the WSDL file. I need to expose the WSDL file. In order to expose the WSDL file, what do I need to do? Here, go to the setup. In setup, go to the Apex classes. Whatever the class that we have implemented, let's go to the setup and search for Apex classes here. Apex class. Search for Apex classes. Whenever we are searching the Apex classes here, now in the Apex class, the one which we have implemented, the class name is lead manager. Lead manager. Now let's go to the L. Now, if you observe, this class is having some additional option. This class is having some additional option. You compare with the another classes. There is an option called as a WSDL. There is a option called as a WSDL. There is an option called as a WSDL. So if you check other classes will not be having a WSDL file. Now, why this WSDL came? Because we have created the class method is having a web service. As soon as the Salesforce sees that method name is web service, then immediately it is going to enable this WSDL file. So that means now you can go ahead and create a WSDL file. Now, what is this WSDL file? What is this WSDL file? Now, we will expose a WSDL file, but before that, what is the WSDL file? WSDL file is basically, no, before that, let's see this. Let me go ahead. Okay, so WSDL file is web service description language. Now, what it means actually, whatever the class is written by the developer, whatever the class is written by the developer, it will convert into the XML format. It will convert into the XML format. That means XML format for describing the services as the set of endpoints operating on the message. Now, let me show you that. Now, let's go to the Salesforce. In the Salesforce, either you click on this WSDL, right? Or you have a, this is the one you need to click on it. From the class level, you have a WSDL. Just click on this WSDL. Just click on the WSDL. So what it happened, whatever the class you have written, whatever the class you have written, it is going to convert into the XML format. It is going to convert into the XML format. Now save this file, save as. Let's save this. Now this file is lead manager.xml. Lead manager.xml. Click on it, save. Now this file, if you observe it here, it is a completely in the XML format, right? It is completely in the XML format. It says that Web Service API Lead Manager, Web Service API Lead Manager. Now here you have a different, right, parent, child elements, different elements you have it. So XML format, whatever this XML format is there, it is going to describe the service as a endpoint operating on this message. Whatever the endpoint is there, it is going to add you the endpoint there. Now here, target namespace, it is added schema.class.lead manager, schema.class.lead manager, right? And whatever that we have created, whatever the class we have created, those information will be there in the, right? This is the create lead, create a new lead. Now create a new lead. What is my method name? My method name is create new lead. So that's the same thing, create new lead. Now within the create a new lead, I have a first name, last name, company, email, phone number, right? These all are the string. And create new lead response. Now even response also it is taking in the string format result. Right? These all information will be stored. These all information, whatever I have written, those everything will be into the XML. Now there are some options which are available, debugging header, right? Call options. These are by default it is generated. By default it is generated. Allow field, truncation header, login info. If you have a login info, login category, right? Log category level, log type. What is the different type of it? Debug information. If you want a debug information, similarly, we have a session header, and then we have a ID. What is the ID and what is the address? What is the location address? And what is latitude and longitude? Then create a new lead. This is the request and this is the response. Response is we are receiving it. And then we have a message for the header part of it. So it has whatever on top we have seen, those all are in the header. Allow field truncation, call options, right? So that is the call options, debugging header, debugging info. This is the session. Then we have a operation messages. This is the request and this is the response. This is the request and this is the response. And what is the prototype? Now it will have a port type. It has a port type. There is a one port type will be there. Then we have a binding. We have a binding, lead manager binding. And then finally, we have a service called lead manager service. And the message is lead new request. Another message is lead response. Now, these are the information. Now, this everything is converted. Everything is created by the Salesforce. It's based on the logic that developer has used inside the class. Whatever the logic you use it, everything it will be converted into the XML format. Everything is converted into the XML format. So it is a XML schema. And here is my class name, lead manager. Lead manager is the class name. So XML format for describing the services as a set of endpoint operating on the messages. And WSDL defines the service as a collection of network endpoints and the ports. So we have a endpoint which is mentioned as an endpoint, as well as the different port types also it is mentioned. Right, there is something called as a types. If you see here, we have a main options which we have types, message, port type, binding. These four are important. Type, message, port type, binding. These four are important. So type is going to define what type of data is used. What type of data is used. What type of data is used. Login information, debugging, login type, session header, and in the create new lead, what are the fields which we are expecting. Those everything will be present in the types. So it defines data type that is used. Data type that is used. And the next one which we have a message. Next one which we have message. Message is a data element for each operation. What type of a data element? Like we have a new lead, request and response. Right, data element. For each operation, what is the element should be executed. Now here I have only one operation which is a create a new lead request. For that, what is the data element that I need to pass it? If I go to the new request, now element is TNS colon create new lead. This is the parameters, it is expecting the parameters. Now response is now create new lead response. This is automatically created, this element. So message is data element for each operation. For each operation. And the next one we have a port type. Port type. Operation that can be performed. What type of operations can be performed is defined in the port type. Now here operation is a input is create new lead request and output is create new lead response. This is the operation. What type of a operation that can be performed? What type of operation that can be performed? And the last one which we have a binding. Last one which we have a binding. Binding is the one which will define the protocol as well as the data format. It has a protocol. Now HTTP colon, this is a protocol. And what data format? What is the data format? Now everything will be defined in the binding. So binding is defines the protocol and data format. So any WSDL file, if you look at any WSDL file, these four things should be mandatory and it is automatically generated by the Salesforce. Type, message, port type, binding. These four are mandatory. Now, so far what we have done in the server side, now it is a reverse direction. Now, so far what we have done is, now here we have a couple of, whenever we are doing the SOAP integration, in the server side, I created the Apex class. I created the Apex class, and in the Apex class, method exposed as a custom SOAP web service. SOAP web service call. This is the first one. Now I have created the Apex class. Now here in the method, I have used the keyword called web service keyword. I have used the access modifier in the method is called keyword called web service. I have used the keyword for the method access modifier web service. Now web service, what are the web services there? Web service method always use the always use system context and also this web service defined we have to define this method with the static method has to be static. If you are using the web service, you need to use the static. And in case if you are defining the method as a web service, then your class access modifier has to be global. It has to be global. Right? So this is the steps which we have to make sure. So whenever you are creating the Apex class, it has to be global. And web service method, if you are creating the SOAP integration, your method access modifier has to be web service and it has to be static. And web service method is always use the system context. Whatever system context is there, it will use the system context. Now, once we are done with all these steps, then finally what we have to do, step 2, consume the SOAP service. What are the steps that we have to do in order to consume it? The first thing is that we need to save the WSDL file in the locally. Now I have saved the WSDL file. Now I have saved the WSDL file locally. So this is the lead manager. Now if I open in the Notepad++, now this is the WSDL file. This is the WSDL file. This is one element. This is another element. This is another element. And then we have a complex type, simple type, and then element is a debugging. Element is a session, and then we have a name, right? Then we have a location details, and finally element is create new lead, and next element is create new lead response. This everything is available within the schema, within the type. Now I have saved this file as a XML. Now the next step is I need to pass this to the client. Now assume that I have already passed to the client. Now let me open the client server. Now this is my client server. Client Salesforce org 1327. This is a client org. Now I have provided the WSDL file to the client. Now what client will be doing here? Setup and search here Apex. Search here Apex. Go to the Apex class. Click here to open in Classic. Now here you have an option called Generate from WSDL. Click on this Generate from WSDL, and we need to select the WSDL document. You cannot choose any file here. Only WSDL file you can choose it, right? WSDL document that can be almost 1 MB. The limit is 1 MB of WSDL file. Now choose the file here, click on the file. Now let's go to the our documentation integration. Now here lead manager XML document. Now I have updated the lead manager.xml. Now click on here parse WSDL. Click on this parse WSDL. Then it is going to successfully, warning is 0, there is no errors. There are no errors. Now this is the Apex class name. This is Apex class name. By default, Salesforce is going to create some name here. If you want to make a changes to this, what you can do is you can make it. Now, I just want the file names. It is too long, but I just need a file name of SOAP lead manager. SOAP lead manager. Right, so SOAP lead manager, I want the Apex class. Now, if you want, you can make the changes to this. See here, visitor file is I'm getting it from the SOAP schema class lead manager. That is the endpoint. Now, if you go here, it is giving you the target namespace. Target namespace. So whatever you see here, this is the target namespace, and this is the Apex class name. So lead manager, if you want to make a changes to the Apex class, you can make a changes to that and click on it, generate Apex code. Generate Apex code. It will generate the two classes. One is a SOAP lead manager, another one is a async SOAP lead manager. Two classes will be automatically generated by the Salesforce. You just need to provide the visitor file. Right, what are the visitor file is there? That visitor file we have provided to the client, and client has consumed the visitor file, and they created the Apex classes. There are two Apex classes it is created. SOAP lead manager, async SOAP lead manager, async SOAP lead manager. Now this is in order to generate the classes from the visitor, you have to do this in the client. Right, in the client, this is in the client, you have to go to the setup Apex classes, generate the file from the visitor, and select the visitor file in order to generate the class, and click on the generate class. Now once you generate it, there are two classes will be automatically generated. There are two classes which is automatically generated. One is a service class for a synchronous service. One is a service class for the synchronous service. Another one is modified version of asynchronous version. What are the first one is there? That is a synchronous. What are the first one is there? SOAP lead manager. SOAP lead manager is a synchronous one. Now let me go to the. Now there is a two classes which is created. This is a synchronous service. Synchronous service. Where this class is created, this is in the client. In the client, I have invoked the visitor file. I have generated the visitor file. By using the WSDL file, we have created the two classes. One is this, another one is async SOAP lead manager. Async SOAP lead manager. It's a modified version of asynchronous. Modified version of the asynchronous service. Modified version of the asynchronous service. Now click on done. Now, if you go here, one is synchronous SOAP lead manager. Let's go to the S. Right here, I have a SOAP lead manager. Now let me open this. And another one is created asynchronous. Asynchronous SOAP lead manager. I'm just opening this. Now, if you see here, let me open in the developer console. Right, so the first one is file, new file, open resource. First one is a SOAP lead manager, open. And the second one is a open resource, asynchronous open. Now let's see asynchronous one or a synchronous one. So let's see the synchronous one. Now do you see here log info, debug info, element, address, right? Session header element, create new lead element. What are these? These are the elements. Now allow field login info, right? And debug info, session header, address, create a new lead. These classes, whatever you see these classes are like a login info is the class. Login info is the class, which is an element in the type. Similarly, debug info element, debug info element, that is also another type of a element we have it. We have another type of element which is a debug info. And similarly, address is also another element. Session header is also element. So the session header, it is an element. Similarly, create new lead is a element. Now creating new lead is a element. If you see here in this lead, first name, last name, company name, email, phone number, right? So these are automatically taken from the WSDL file. And then it is created the response element also it is created. It is created the response element. And then we have a call option element. Call option element. Call options element, debug header element, location. Whatever the classes you see here, these all classes are created from the WSDL file. Now, if you see the lead manager is my class name in the server. Lead manager is my class name in the server. So this is my server lead manager. Now that is the lead manager class is created here. And then we have a within this first name, last name, request. These are the request, company, email, phone. From that, we are going to process the web service call out and which is going to invoke the request. Whatever this request is there, it is going to invoke it from this class, right? This is the SOAP lead manager, create new lead response. And what are the response we are getting it? We are going to return the result, the response, right? This is the synchronous. This is to process the single lead. This is to process the single lead. Asynchronous is nothing but where you have a multiple leads. If you wanted to process, you can process it. So async lead manager. So here also you have a create a new lead, right? Create a new lead response, create a new lead element is there. Within that we have a first name, last name, where we are going to return the asynchronous information which we are doing it. Now, whenever you are calling the create new lead response, now if you see your server side, you are expecting the parameters, right? These parameters, first name, last name, company, email, phone number. Now, in the same thing here also you are expecting the parameters. Now, whenever you are called here, create a new lead, it is calling the first name, parameter, last name, parameter, company, email, and the phone number. So same parameters are it is expected. If you see in the asynchronous also it begins with the create a new lead and it has a first name, last name, email, right, company name, and the phone number, same thing will be there. Additionally, in the asynchronous, you will see that continuation. Another parameter which is called as a continuation. Additional parameter, you see the continuation in the asynchronous lead manager. What are the async classes that in that you will see the additional one which is used for the continuation. So this continuation is basically if you want to go into the loop or anything, that is how it is going to create it. So this is the asynchronous one. This is asynchronous one. Let's suppose from the client, this is my client Salesforce. From the client, I wanted to generate a lead and send it to the server. Now, how can I do that? Now, here I have a class called lead manager. I have a class called lead manager. In the lead manager, now we have another method is available, create a new lead. Now from this class, if I call this method and by passing this, I can create it, right? So this is the class name and this is the method name. This is the class name and this is the method name. Right, so but before calling to this class directly, I need to call the main class, which is main class is SOAP lead manager. SOAP lead manager. Let me go with the debug. In the debug, I'm using the SOAP lead manager dot. I have a class called lead manager. Now let's say that this is the lead service equal to new SOAP lead manager dot lead manager. SOAP lead manager dot lead manager. I'm initiating the class and initializing the class. SOAP lead manager dot a lead manager, which is a lead service. Right? This is I have initialized it. Now from this lead service, I can call a method. Method is, what is the method name here? In the lead manager, I have a method called create new lead. Create new lead. In that new lead, we are expecting the last name, right? Company, first name, last name, company, email, and then phone number. Now let me send here. Let's say first name is Bharati. First name is Bharati, and then last name is Desu, and then I have to give the company name. Company name is Dell, and I need to provide the email. Let's say bs@gmail.com. And then after that, we have a phone number. After that, we have a phone number. Let's say some phone number here, +91. And this is a phone number, which has to be in the string. Right, how many parameters? First name, last name, company, email, phone. Yeah, perfect. Right, so this is the complete information I'm processing it. Now, if I click on a debug, let me print this debug system dot debug. Let's say this is the response. Now response, let me store the response into the string. A response, what are the response we are getting it? I'll be storing that response here. Click on this response and then process this. Now, so far what I have done, I have created the Apex class and passed a WSDL file to the client. In server, I have created the Apex class, and then I have generated the WSDL file, and that WSDL file I have provided to the client. Client has invoked that WSDL file and it created the two classes. Client is created the two classes by using the WSDL file. Two classes are generated. Using the WSDL file. Now we have a synchronous one. We will go with the SOAP, directly SOAP lead manager. By using this SOAP lead manager, I am going to insert a lead in the client. Now, when I execute that logic, the lead has to be created in the server. Whenever I execute this SOAP lead manager, it has to create a lead in server. It has to create a lead in server. Because the target name, whatever the target URL is there, the target URL, it is pointing to the, right, the lead manager. Now, where are the lead manager in the server? Now, if I execute this method, then it has to be lead has to be created in the server. Lead has to be created in the server, but we will get an error. It will not be happen. There is an error will happen. Now here it says that call out exception. Why it is unauthorized endpoint? What are the endpoint is there? Please check the setup security remote site setting endpoint AP16 salesforce.com. Now who's this AP16 salesforce.com? Now let me go to the client. Now company information. Let me check the client company information. Now from the client, we are sending to the server. So that means I need to register the server one. This is also AP16. Now server, let me check the server. Company information. This is also AP16. Both are into the same instance. But here the error which I am getting in the client side, the error which I am getting is it is asking us to the lead manager, wherever the lead manager in the server. Now that URL I need to register in the remote site settings of in the client. In the client, I need to go to the remote site settings. Remote site settings. Then I need to register the endpoint URL. The URL is this. Now here this is a server Salesforce. Now if you want to disable the protocol, I do not want to disable the protocol as it is I wanted to use it. Click on save. Now this is created. Now let me go back to and execute it again. Click on highlight and executed the highlighted one. Again, I'll receive an error. What it is asking this time, it is telling me that invalid session ID. Invalid session ID. That means invalid session ID form, session header. I have something called as a session header. Session header is there. Now this session header, what are the session header is there? It is a illegal session. That means, what is this means? This error invalid session ID is nothing but it is a IP restricted. It is IP restricted. It is IP restricted. Now, if it is a IP restricted, that means there are two things which needs to be performed here. Two things which I need to perform. One is it is asking me that web service call out failed. Return to the SOAP invalid session ID found in the session header in illegal session, right? So for this, there are two ways which we can do it. The first thing is that before going to this step, now let's go to the server. In the server, we have created a WSDL file. Similarly, we have to create another XML file. Similarly, we have to create another XML file. For that, now here search here API in the setup, search API. Now when you search a API, it is going to give you the multiple API WSDL file. One is enterprise WSDL, partner WSDL, Apex WSDL, metadata WSDL, tooling WSDL, delegated authentication WSDL, client certificate and enterprise package version setting, partner package version setting. These all are the different certificate. These all are the certificate. Basically, why I need it, I need to provide this certificate to the another system. There has to be, in order to enable the communication between these two components, there has to be certification has to be provided. WSDL and a client certificate has to be provided. Now, Salesforce WSDL allows you to easily integrate the Salesforce with your application and to build new application that works with the Salesforce. To get started, download the WSDL file to a place accessible to your development environment. For additional documentation, please visit. Now here we have an integration and APIs. We have an integration and APIs. Now if you just click on a confirm, it will take you to the API and integrations. There are different integrations are available. Now in interview, they will ask you that what is the enterprise WSDL? What is the partner WSDL? What is the differences between the partner and enterprise WSDL? What is the differences between the partner and WSDL file? Now, this is to invoke the web service, right? Now here we have a partner WSDL. Now partner WSDL is now it is a, first of all, it is a loosely typed. That means partner WSDL, if you generate it, you will have a modification. If you want to make a modification, you can make a modification. It's a loosely typed partner WSDL. And by using this partner WSDL, we can use it to reflect any configuration on Salesforce. What are the configurations are there in the Salesforce? If you want to reflect against any configuration, you can use the partner WSDL. This partner WSDL is a static and does not change if the modification is made to the organization configuration. That means once I generate the partner WSDL, then whatever the logic is written, it is a static. The latest changes won't be there in the partner WSDL. And basically this partner WSDL is who want to build an integration that can work across the multiple Salesforce organization, regardless of their custom objects or fields, then we can use the partner WSDL. If you want to work with a multiple organization, irrespective of the object name, field name, irrespective of that, if you want to use it, you can use the partner WSDL. Whereas enterprise WSDL is, it is a strongly typed. It is strongly typed and it is tied with the specific configuration of the Salesforce, right? So what are the Salesforce changes are there? It is tightly bound. That means it is exactly the configuration will be present in the enterprise. And what are the changes are made into the configuration? It is not a static, right? WSDL changes if the org config is modified. You will see the differences there. It is not a static file. So this is enterprise WSDL is for the customers who want to build an integration with their Salesforce organizations only. In case if you want to build it with the Salesforce organization, that means you have to check whether it has exactly the same custom object. All the objects field has to be almost similar. In that case, we use the enterprise WSDL. Now what I'll do is I'll just download the partner WSDL. It is a loosely typed WSDL for a customers, partners, and ISV who are building the client application for multiple organizations. So I'll take the partner WSDL. Click on this partner WSDL. It will generate an XML file. So this is the XML file. This is salesforce.com partner web service API version 58.0 and generated on this date, copyright, whatever the information is there, it is going to keep. Here also you have a different type of schema is there. Here you have a different type of schema. So this is one schema and this is another schema which you have. Then these all are within the type. Then you have a message, right? Header message, API fault message, login fault message, invalid queue, and then invalid new password, invalid old password, invalid fault, unexpected error. These all are the different messages you have. Then finally you have the, let me minimize these messages. Right, these all are the messages. Now it has a different type of messages, then it has a port type. This is one operation, login operation. This is a describe S object, describe S object, and describe global, and describe the data category groups. And this is the describe the data category group structure, describe the data category mapping, and then we have a knowledge settings, describe the app menu, and this is a global theme, describe theme. There are different operations which we have. So these all operation retrieve it. And then finally we have this all about the setting. What are the current setting we have it? These all are the settings, operation settings are there. So this is entire file. And finally we have a service. Salesforce SOAP API, SOAP binding, and this is the login.salesforce.com services SOAP. Now what I'll do is I'll save this file, save as, let's say this is the partner wisdom.xml. I have saved the partner wisdom XML. Now next step what we will do is let's go to the developer console. Sorry, let's go to the client. In the client, again we need to generate the classes. Now let's go to the Apex class here. In the Apex class, generate from the WSDL. This time the WSDL, I'm going to choose the partner WSDL. Partner WSDL, click on XML parse WSDL. This time it is going to create a 4. Now these are the fault, partner, and S object. These are the classes name. If you want to make changes, you can make it. Now this is the fault partner, so Salesforce com. This is a partner, so Salesforce com S object partner. These are the automatically generated by the Salesforce. Click on the generate. Now it is giving an error here. Now whenever you get this error, generate a file error. Now what you have to do is, what it is saying that unsupported schema type. Unsupported schema type. Now copy this any type and go to the partner WSDL. Let me open the partner WSDL in the here. Now whenever we open the partner WSDL, now let's search here, which is called as a any type. Find next. Okay. Here we have something called any type. We have a any type. Now this has to be changed. This is not accepted by the Salesforce. Copy this, go to the replace, and this any type to the, you need to change it to the string. You need to change it to the string. Copy SST, XST, from any type to, you need to change it to the string. Now replace it, replace wherever we have any type, replace that to the string. That's all. Click on your save. Now close this. Let me go here. Again, click on generate the WSDL, generate from WSDL file. Choose the file, choose the partner WSDL, click on it, open, and click on the parse WSDL. And generate Apex. Now it created the 4 classes. It created 4 classes. Fault, partner SOAP Salesforce, partner SOAP Salesforce com, async partner SOAP S object, partner SOAP Salesforce. So it created the 4 classes. partner visitor created the 4 classes. For partner and the partner so asynchronous, right? And S object. Now let me open the partner so Salesforce. Click on done. Let's go to the developer console, file, open resource. I need to refresh this. File, open resource. Now I have a partner, so Salesforce. Right here is the class it is created. Now I have an invalidate. So many options, so many classes it created. So many classes it is created. The one I need to look at is login result. Login result. Because I need to make sure that where I need to provide the credentials to the, whenever I'm processing the data, I need to provide the credentials because it was giving the session ID error. Login, let me search. Login result. Login info, login element, login response. Right there it is. Login result. Where is this login result? Now let me go to the login. Right, here is the login result. So this login result is the class where I need to provide the password, right? Password, user information, user ID, I need to provide it, and the password. That means whenever I'm sending the data from the client to server, I need to provide the certain username and password I need to provide it. I need to provide the user ID and password. I need to provide user ID and password. Now let's see how can I provide the user ID and password. Here it is. Partner so dot login result where it is login, where I need to provide the username and password. Now if I provide the username and password, there is a web service call out is going to execute and the login response I'll get it. Then once it is enabled, once the login is successful, from the client, I need to make sure that I'm connecting to the server correctly. I'm connecting the server correctly. So that means from the client, I need to connect the server and then send the lead details to the, and I need to send the lead details to the server. Now first let's see that how can I make sure that from the client, how can I connect the server? Now for that, I need to get the server credentials. See some IT2. Let me get the credentials of mine. Just a second, let me get the credentials. Okay, so I have my credentials. Perfect. So let me go back to the client side. From the client side, I need to connect it to the server. Go to the debug. Now here, so first what I need to do, I need to invoke my partner visitor class. So for that, let me see, first I will define the string username equal to, the username is this one. This is the username, and then I have a string password equal to, the password is this is the password. Now after that, we have a class name, partner so Salesforce com dot. Now this is within the now it has to be within the so. Now let me see. So let me use here so. So is the another method there. So the object name is soap obj equal to new, whatever this partner so Salesforce form. I'm initializing this. After that, I have a partner dot login result. Log result is the name of this, and the so obj dot login, and here I need to pass the username and password. And finally, I'll print system.debug login result, log result. Perfect. Okay, so let me execute this. Okay, so it is saying that there is a remote site setting is missing. Again, I need to do that because this time it is a login.salesforce.com. So let's go back, create a new remote site settings, create this. This is for the partner visitor. Click on save. Now let me execute the highlighted one. Login must use the security token. Login must use the security token. So in the real time, whenever we are providing the details to the end user, if you are providing the details to the username and password, in case if you are providing the username and password, in that case, along with the password, you need to provide the token as well. You need to provide the token. Now, how can you generate the token? You can generate the token. Now go to the Go to your server. Now in the server, click on here, My Settings. In the My Settings, you will see that Reset Security Token. Click on this Reset Security Token. Then immediately you will receive an email. Immediately you will receive an email with the security token. And let's go to the security token. Now here it is, I received the security token and my token name is this one. It's a case sensitive, so copy exactly, copy this. Let's go to the developer, let's go to the client side. Now along with the password, what you need to do is you need to provide the security token. Along with this, you need to provide the security token. Now click on execute. Nothing is selected. Let's click on this selected. Execute the selected one. Now it says login successful. Login successful. Endpoint is this one. And I'm able to connect my server. I'm able to connect my server. Whatever is happening, it is like a login element, user type, password type, schema, everything is got executed. Everything is got executed. So login result is everything is I got the input. So which is a successful. I can see that Samskar ID. I'm into the client 1327, but I'm able to connect to the server. Samskar ID to dev, whatever is there, I can connect it. Metadata, password, everything is I'm able to connect it. Now from the client, I'm able to connect the server. Now the next step, what I need to do is I need to go for a what are the lead manager class is there, open resource. So lead manager. Now I need to call this so lead manager. From the lead manager, I need to pass the session ID. What are the session ID? I'm getting it here. By executing this, I'm getting the session ID. So that session ID, I need to pass it to this manager. So in this, so lead manager, here I have it. Here I have it, one of the object called session header element. Session header element. Now the object name, I'll leave it as a session object equal to, let's say new. I'm initializing this session header element. Let's pass this. Now I need to pass the session ID. For this, we have a session ID. What is the session ID? What is the variable name? Session header element. Now here I need to pass the session ID. Dot session ID equal to, from where will I get? From this login result dot I have a session ID. From here, I'll get the session ID. Now I'm passing the session ID to the SOAP lead manager. Now the next step is, as usual, let's go ahead and create a lead manager. Dot lead manager. Let's say lead service equal to new. I'm creating the instance for this lead manager. Now from this, I need to create a lead service dot create new lead. Is that create new lead? Create new lead. And here I need to pass the details of Bharati Bharati, and the last name is Desu, and then company name, say Wipro, and email ID bs@gmail.com, and I need to pass the mobile number. So number I'm passing it. Click on execute it. Click on execute. Let's see what will happen on this. Hope it should work. If there are any issues, then we have to see the issues. Now all of this, let's execute the highlighted one. It says session ID. Whatever previously the session ID it was coming, the same session ID it is giving me right now. That means it is a ID restriction. It is a IP address restriction. IP address restriction. What is the other possibility that I can do? Let's go to the Salesforce and go to the I can go to the my settings. Here we have an option. Let's go to the advanced user details. Now that error is a IP restriction. So what I am going to do is there are multiple ways to remove the IP, this error. Whatever the IP restriction is there, invalid session ID. Still it is saying the invalid session ID. Now because it is IP restricted. Now what I'll do is I'll go to the login IP ranges. On the profile level, I'll click on this profile level. I'll open up this for everybody to talk to here. Now this should be accept. Starting IP address is this and ending IP address is 255.255.255.255. Everybody can connect this by using the whoever is having the, because this credentials profile is a system admin. This whatever this user is their DEC badge, that user profile is a system administrator. For this system administrator, I have kept the login IP ranges 002 to 255. So that means everybody can talk to this. Now let me go to the client. Now click on OK. Let me execute it again. Execute the highlighted one. Now still it is giving it. Why it is giving still? Now let me click on execute. Okay, so let me see this. Now, whatever my client is there. Client profile is I have opened the access, which is perfectly fine. I have opened the access, which is perfectly fine. What else we can do it? Now let me refresh this. Debug, open. Right, now let me click on this. Click on execute. Now still it is giving the error. Let me do one thing. Let me go to the server, my settings. Let's where is the restore security token? Let's see the security token. Click on refresh. Reset. I cannot see. Go to setup. My settings, my personal information. My personal information. Security token. I cannot see the security token. Oh, because I have enabled that. I have enabled the security token. I have enabled the IP address. So if we have an IP address, then I cannot see the security token here. That's totally fine. Now let me go back. Why it is still giving me? Now let me see. Let me execute this, only this part, execute the highlighted one. Invalid session. Perfect. Let me execute this, click on execute highlighted. Session ID is invalid. Web service callout is failed because (121). Create a new lead, string. In order to create a lead, do I have any restriction here? Let me go ahead and create a lead. So click on new lead. Salesforce and company Salesforce. Company and the phone. Click on save. Annual revenue. Okay, that is the problem. Annual revenue is, this is annual revenue mandatory. What is this validation rule? Let's go to the object. Validation rules. Annual revenue is mandatory. Let's click on edit. Let's say disable this. Click on save. Now let's go ahead and create one more time. Right, Salesforce. Click on save. Now it is saving it. Now let me try it from the client side. Debug, open execute. Click on execute the highlighted one. Still it is a problem. Now password expired. Where is the session ID? Debug open system dot debug log-res dot session ID click on execute. Session ID is removed. Why are you saying that session ID? The problem is I'm not getting the session ID. That is the problem. Why it says session ID is removed. Session ID is removed. Why it is removed? Username, password. When we have added the password, we have added this. Now let's go to this. Open this class. Login result. Session ID. Debug. Okay. This seems right. Click on execute. Session ID is removed. Why session ID is removed is coming. Let me take out the IP ranges. Settings. Advanced user details. Profile. Login IP. Click on delete. Right now, let me try that. Debug open. Click on execute the highlighted. Still it is coming, session ID is removed. Let's see that. Let's click on control. Session ID removed. Crystal file. So we are passing the username and some password plus token, which is right. This is right. And then we are asking the session ID. Did I copy this token correctly? Let's go to the server. 1, 2, 3. I have a user info details also. What I can do is user info system.debug user info. Let me execute this highlighted one. Does not exist. Okay. We can't execute. We can't debug. Session ID is removed. Username, password. My settings. Username correct. Now we'll see this tomorrow. Now, so far what we have done is these are the step 1, step 2 is completed, step 3, step 4 is also completed. The only problem that we have is from client, how can you send it to the server? Now, when I'm sending to the server, I need to authenticate. I need to make sure that what are the server credentials are there. The server credentials are authenticated. The server credentials are authenticated. Now, the authentication is not happening correctly. Now we have to see why it is not happening correctly, the authentication. Now I have given the user ID password correctly. Right, so I have given the username, password, and it is able to identify the URL also. Login result, session ID. But it's saying that session ID is removed. So what could be the problem? Now here login result, right? So obj login username and password. I have specified the remote site settings. If I go to the remote site setting, I have specified the remote site settings. And within that only we have a login username and password. That's right. Now, did we register this? Copy, remote site settings. It is there, login.salesforce. Partner list is there. Within this SOAP, we have it. Describe this. Process. Describe convert lead. And then delete. login. So within the SOAP, we have a login, username, password, response. I'm getting the login result back, web service. Now let me see from the Salesforce point of view. Now if I go to the advanced user details, in the advanced user details, if I go to bottom, it says success here. 8:53 a.m. This is through the login type is Apex API. Now let me try again. This is at 8:53:26. Excuse me. Click on execute. Session ID is invalid. It says success here. The latest one login.salesforce.com success. Let me add the IP range. Zero dot zero dot zero dot zero 255.255.255.255. 2, 3, 4. Click on save. Okay, now let me go back to the settings. Advanced user details. And if I go down 90229 TDT, if I click on this, click on execute, it still says that system call out failed. It says system call out is failed, but I'm able to. It was a 9229. Now if I refresh here, now user level, it says it is successful. User level, if I go down, login history 9506. Other API, it says successful. It is successful. Maybe I should keep this instead of login.salesforce.com in the remote site settings. Let me go here. Let me change this partner filter. Let me change this to this Namaskar 82. Now let me go back, click on OK. Now let's say execute. No, it just says that login. Okay, I'll create another one, remote site settings. Server call, click on save. Click on execute. Still the session ID is coming. I have provided here login.result. So element. So lead manager, click on open. So lead manager. Here the lead manager. So lead manager, session header element. And then session ID. Result of session ID here. Finally, let me execute this. Result of okay, so let me see here. Lead service dot. I'll give the session header. Lead service in the lead service manager. So I have session header. I need to give the session header. So let's get it, session header. I think it should work. It should work. I need to give whatever the session object is there. Session object. Now let me see right now. Click on execute. Let me select it. Yes, it is working. Okay, now it is created here. Now let me go back to the server. Now in the server side, if I go to the lead, now here there is a new lead which should be created. All open leads. Bharati created date today. Bharati Desu people. Right, so it is created the lead. Now again, I'll create it here. Now what we are doing the steps, I'll just clarify the steps. Now here the first step is which we are doing the invoking my partner WSDL file. Partner WSDL file. What are the classes? The class. And then I'm giving the login access in the partner WSDL. In the partner WSDL, I'm providing the login credentials. Login credentials, I'm providing it in partner class. In partner class. And the step 2 is, what are the step 2 is that in step 2, the session header. Whatever the session header object is there, I'm passing the session ID to the session header. Passing the session ID to session header. And step 3 is the call I'm doing it. So call. So lead manager call I'm doing it by passing the session ID. By passing the session ID. Now these are the 3 steps which we need to do it. Again, let me do here. Let's say Ram Gopal. And let's say US and L&T. rm@gmail.com. Click on the execute. This is I'm doing at this client side. This is I'm doing at the client side. If I click on execute, click on execute. Now it is successful. Now if I go back to the server side, leads. Now all open lead. Now Ram Gopal US, L&T. Right, L&T is the company. This is the phone number, our email, and just now it is created. Just now it is created 9:30 a.m. So what we are doing it from the client side, we are sending the leads to the server. We are sending the leads to the server. Now, that's it for today. So far what we have done is whatever the 4 steps which we have discussed, these 4 steps we have executed. Now, next time we will see, instead of going through the partner WSDL, if I have any other way. Do I have any other way to do the authentication? Now, right now what we are doing is, while passing the data, first I need to authenticate. While here authentication, what we are doing, I need to pass the username and password. Based on the username, password, and the token, what are the token I have it, those details, by passing those details, I'm getting the session ID. Once I have the session ID, then I'm creating the lead to the, I'm passing the lead details to the server, and in the server, the lead is created. In the server, the lead is created. This is entire step which we have seen today. This is using the SOAP integration. Using the SOAP integration. Now, what are the authentication we are doing it through the partner WSDL? Now, next time we will see how can we do it to avoid this partner WSDL. Without this partner WSDL, without invoking the partner WSDL, can I do it in a different way? So that we will do it in the next class. Hope that is clear. Little bit confusion here and there, but hope that is clear. Okay then. Thank you.